show, by the way. That song by Morgan Hebert, "A Minifin." It's a great song. All right. First, who's the guy I'm watching the show about? Dan Chandler?
Dan Schneider?
Dan Schneider?
At Nickelodeon?
At Nickelodeon. I've been told he's a big Jared Fogle, big Harvey Weinstein kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
If he is, I'm not seeing it yet. I'm not.
Okay, blind Mike.
No, it's not true. I'm at the end of episode 1, and he's like weird and odd and handsy and weird and odd and fat and weird and odd.
I'm against him because I really like Amanda Bynes and I really like Jeanette McCurdy, and they're both totally out of the industry now because they were so destroyed by how abusive he was.
I'm just saying that everybody said, man, this guy's a Jeffrey. And my son James knows about him suddenly.
All the kids know about him because everybody from Nickelodeon from that era is ruined.
Okay, but he's and I'm like, I haven't seen him any evidence that he's done anything yet, and they're like, well, he apologized for it, so I guess I'll get to that part.
He's big on putting the girls' feet into the shows, and
I saw that, and he's obviously weird sexual innuendo with younger, but it's innuendo and stuff. It's obviously creepy and stuff like that, but there's real sexual assault. As of episode 1, it hasn't happened. Maybe it happened.
Okay, maybe reserve judgment until you've watched a little more, maybe. How about that?
So I want to tell you about something else I watched that is really freaking good. And this is with Justin Trudell, sorry.
Not the Prime Minister of Canada?
The Beyond the Third Chair show. Have you seen it?
Bits and pieces here and there. I have not watched it through.
So I've only seen, I don't know how many episodes there are. I've only seen Steve from Gloucester so far.
Mm-hmm.
It's freaking great. This is a natural for Justin and is fantastic. And this actually worked really good for Steve. I keep expecting Steve, who's not, I don't think he's a theatrical guy. I keep expecting him in big places to fall on his face. It's tough to do a video and not be nervous. Any kind of video when somebody's got a cell phone. I do radio and that's one thing. That's cake. When somebody has a camera or a real camera, cell phone cam is bad enough, but a real camera, I blank up. I'm like, When any TV I did, I just try to force a smile, but I was always nervous, always. Stephen Gloucester he's a freaking ham, but that's the point of this. Justin asks him a really good question, which applies perfectly to that universe. And I'll play it in a second. So we've talked about how different people handle the
spotlight.
The spotlight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And different people handle it in different ways. Some handle it better than others, and some don't handle it good at all. But
are you okay?
I'm actually looking for a file here. But okay, let's get to the question. This will set it up for you. This is Justin asking Steve a question.
So on the record, you are not better than the average Minifan.
No, not even close. Not even close. I walked in, and it was the first time being at a live event, so I didn't know who anybody was, but I knew you guys. So I was like, okay, let me go to my comfort zone, and I met, knew you guys, Mike, Gus, and then I ended up seeing Julie, and that's pretty much where I stood because people congregated over to me first, but then as it went on, I went over and talked to everybody. I mean, it's what I do. I'm not, I don't have an ounce of feeling like I'm entitled more than anybody. No way.
Where do you think this comes from? Do you think it comes from
It's the hand waving. He wants to go on the show.
So anyway, the point is this. Does the buzz of being in that third chair, or second chair, or whatever, what does that do to a person? Steve from Gloucester's a guy in his 40s who was a fan of the show, who was thrilled to be part of the show when Kirk read his big manifesto, and then was on the show and is regardless of his faux it's bada bing thing, and he happens to be an interesting guy and not hateable at all.
True.
At all. And so you look at the effect of what being on the show had on him. And although there was one time he went away for a couple days, I'm not sure for what. So maybe the noise got to him for a second. it seems to me that he has not changed. Like being on the show has not really changed him.
No, I mean, I think that in a way, being on the show, and obviously, like, we didn't know Steve from Gloucester personally before he was on KMS. But that being said, I feel like it brought him out of his shell so much, from the person who wrote that original letter to the person who danced with Casey Smith at
Yes.
the live show. I mean, it just takes so much confidence and presence, and I think that it's like he's found his people and is out of his shell and is he's entering his like KMS era, so to speak, and it's sort of like thriving like a butterfly coming out of his cocoon. I love it.
He is thriving, and who knows if it's like negative stuff got to him. I don't think anything's getting to him right now. And
No, because that's not an easy thing, because people were not necessarily nice about the manifesto, and I think that the ability to get past that and the way everybody's talking about you and the letter that you wrote and the whole thing, and even to go on the show then in the first place, takes a certain amount of cojones that you have to have, and the ability to look past things people are saying about you. And he was awesome even from the first time he was on the show. Relaxed, confident, funny. He invented like Gussie bullshit,
sure,
which like all these things. He came in and he had a bunch of stuff going on and was great from the first time he was on. So it took it even from that point in time.
But there are personality types, and this isn't really a view of how he's done, because he's a natural ham. Obviously, he's a ham. He will take the spotlight all the time. But there are people who really delineate between being laughed at and laughed with.
Right.
And he doesn't have that. You can laugh at him or laugh with him as long as you're paying attention to him, and I certainly understand that. It's just enjoying the attention.
Right.
So like he's somebody who I think is thriving in this, and then this is the topic of this show is it like, why did some people go sideways? It gets to them suddenly, and it gets to them. I think one reason it didn't get to Steve from Gloucester is because he's older than most Minifans. I think the demographics moving up as more olds are invited in. But
I mean, I think it varies. I think young people and old people are listening for different parts of the show, sort of.
Well, sure, no doubt about that. But also, but Steve's doing real life stuff. He's had real challenges. He's had, he has a kid. He's been divorced. He's lost a parent. Like, once real life stuff happens to you, your soul starts to be dead inside, where it's like, there was a time when my doctor giving me the proctology exam, like raping me like he does like every year, where I'd be like upset about. Now I'm like, I am so broken inside and almost just I'm mostly just dead inside. It's like I would turn tricks with guys if I thought it would make money. It was like, there's no pride in like, oh, I'm not a gay. Like I freaking care anymore. So and I think that happens as a guy when you have life under you. You lose people through cancer or whatever. You have a bunch of kids. You have different mental health things or different experiences and whatever. And after a while, that's reason.
I don't think everybody who has kids immediately jumps to, I would become a gay prostitute.
No, I was just thinking that because when he was doing the exam, it was like, this is freaking rough and terrible. But I don't feel like I'm like.
But it's fine. I kind of like it.
No. What I'm saying is like that. I don't feel like if this was happening in my 20s, I'd feel like a boy bitch and like raped. Like, I was like, fucking whatever. Like, have at it, man. If you're paying me, like, oh God, there's no problem. But okay, so that reminds me of on the KMS show, some people who started off strong, it just just couldn't handle it. Now, I talked to Tim Canton and Steve today, and some of the Steve people who he submitted to me are on his hit list, so he hates them, like Mayo, who I don't think has gone sideways. I think he does a great job. I love Mayo on the air.
See, I think that's interesting because you and I talked about that. Can we digress on that topic for
Sure.
a little bit? Because this was interesting because everybody was mad at Mayo being on and hates him being on or whatever. And I kind of like the show when he's on. I mean, it moves. There's a lot of stuff going on. But it's funny because you love Mayo on the show. You love
great.
it. And I contend that it's because you have a similar style to Mayo.
You say that, but I think he's much more crisp.
When was the last time you watched your appearance in Third Chair, though?
It was a long time ago.
Because there's a lot. There's a lot of that same like like that's your verbal cadence. Is here, there, this, that.
Yeah. But the thing, it's interesting because while I was in there, I didn't feel like I was doing that. I didn't. But Mayo comes with so much stuff, and he's in a good mood, and he's smiling and laughing. He'll take any grief.
Yeah. So my feeling is, of course, you like that because it's you.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that's why I do like his style, but I don't know that I have my style until I look afterwards and then see that and say, well, wow, it's freaking
Who's
bizarre.
that person?
Yeah. But okay. So I want to go through a couple of people who fell out, went sideways, and for some reason just couldn't handle it. One is Steve Snell. Now Steve Snell, came in fairly bland guy. I like him. I like him. I like his attitude. I like his personality. But he's kind of when I say bland, I mean kind of monotone a little bit. Sounds a little bit like Howard Stern and Everybody Loves Raymond guy a little bit. But here's a little bit. This is not when Steve went sideways. This is a little bit of sample of Steve Snell.
My real name is Steve Snell, Snell.
I thought it was Smith.
I gave a fake name. I couldn't.
Well, you can say you're real. You don't need
Steve
to do that
Smith.
if you don't want to.
No, I don't even have a good reason for why I did it.
Okay.
I just did it.
You live in Maine?
I live in Maine.
Oh, you got Milton's on?
I got my Milton's.
Look at this
studs on.
Milton's outfit on, Dave.
He looks like a rock star.
You're
Nice guy,
not
decent
a
guy.
Conan guy.
Not after yesterday for sure.
He was sucking my dick before yesterday's call.
Oh my
is that true?
God,
And
he
then
is
because
so
I-
full of
True.
shit.
Please. And then because, what did I say? I didn't want to invite him in because you would have thought it would have been lazy or something. He's just turned on me for no
Oh,
reason.
is that right? I
Yeah.
didn't listen to yesterday's show, the Fine Canvas show, because he was here today. So
Yes.
I figured, I listen to other wrap-up shows that just, hate the show. But this one, I think is a fan. I mean, you'll wind up turning on us eventually. I'm
No,
sure.
I won't.
You're from the great state of Maine?
I'm from Rhode Island. I just moved up to Maine about 8 months ago.
Where do you live in Maine?
An hour north of Bangor.
Okay. Oh, so you're way up there.
Yeah, I'm way up there. It took me
good.
5 hours to get to the studio
Are
today.
you driving back after?
I haven't decided yet.
Neither here nor there, But something he went sideways. He went away. Some kind of pressure got to him. He tried to do the producer.
I mean, the
thing.
start of coming in with a fake name, though, is a red flag, I feel.
And I think he came in saying he wants Blind Mike's job, which was like a kind of a ballsy opening statement.
Yeah.
And when these people go with the opening statements, it's the same thing with Julie. Remember, she came in like, "Ali Shattuck's a bitch," and then she came in, and now she's like a little puffball who's in love with Kirk all the time. So, don't misrepresent yourself, and then come in and then just be a lapdog. But so Snell is one of the early ones who what happened. Now I do have thoughts on this. First of all, I assume that when Snell went in there, his social media blew up about 100,000 times more than it ever had. I get the feeling people found out more about his life at rapid fire time than he ever thought anybody ever would.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people don't expect to have 1,000 million eyes on them at once, including some brilliant ones, some devious ones, some ones looking to, some psychos, some people looking to F around, etc. And I think a lot of people just aren't ready for it. And Snell's not a front-facing guy. He's not a performer. He's not in media. He's not. If you're in media and you're looking to grow in media, you're already a prostitute.
Right.
So you know what this world is, and you're just looking for action. Doesn't matter. You'll take it anyway. I remember when I used to listen to the Big Show 20 years ago, when people would call up the whiner line and say, "Pete Shepard, you fat bastard." And I remember thinking, man, I would love somebody to call a radio show that I was on and be calling me a fat bastard. It would be freaking the best. And then a few years later on the Michael Graham show, I was getting it all the time. And my relatives would call and say, "Aren't you upset that people are calling you a fat bastard and a fat ass?" I was like, "No, I'm not upset. I've been waiting for this." It's nice for somebody to say, it's better to be insulted than to have somebody say, "You really have brought me to a level of understanding," and people repeat. But either way, so Snell is not a performance.
But there's people do track down your information and try to bother you.
Yeah.
I mean, or they'll try and bother me. Like if people somehow find my phone number, I get calls about you sometimes, like angry.
Right, and that's political stuff.
Which, I mean, but that's fine. But yeah, like that's okay. I don't care.
And you have like, and I think that you have the creeps like Riccio is a big creep, and he'd find pictures of the house or us and this and that, and that's one thing. And if you're not used to somebody being invasive or invasive people like that, or like MFs out there spending all their brain waves trying to get into your mind.
Right.
And some people are good at being creeps. Sometimes it works. I don't know what blew Snell away. Probably it's just not a natural
Wasn't
thing.
there a whole thing with like he was gonna call the FBI or something? There was like a whole drama about that.
Was that the video of him out in the woods or something? Or was that Tim Ridgels? I'm not even sure.
No, KMS Reloaded was always like out on that sort of beach with the fire with him talking.
Okay.
Like out in nature.
Okay.
But yeah, there was like a whole drama that he had to like go,
But by the
if
way,
I recall
there's some
correctly.
people in the Miniverse who you can tell are absolutely cool and down. Like, although Ridgels did delete his social media, whatever, last week. I guess he was sensitive.
It's like
to
a
it.
rite of passage. Everybody deletes and undeletes their social
I-
media a couple times. I
guess
feel
so.
like in the Miniverse.
Well, it's a great point because Kirk has absolutely normalized taking a mental health break, etc. And I guess for a lot of people, that's what you'd simply do when you're an onslaught of. If you're letting,
But it is interesting because, Kirk has had to deal with people actually trying to ruin him. Right.
Freak,
Like,
yes.
not just for play, fun, trying to ruin him, but like actually trying to make sure that he, goes back to doing baseball cards or whatever.
No, yes, not just that, but like harming kids and like all sorts of creep
Right.
ass psycho things.
Like, and so and that's why people love him, I think, is because he's able to withstand this like crazy onslaught, right? Because it is it's a harder thing to do than I think people think that it is.
Well, yeah, and I think that people love him because he's willing to withstand it.
Right.
I think that like any other human.
Is it like the Trump thing of like they're just doing this to get to you?
Oh, no, I don't think so. I think that people know that he's willing to get out there and deal with psychos and creeps and all sorts of miserable Fs who just want to get into his mind, who want to intimidate. He's always under attack in one way or another, and like he's balancing this, this part of his life, which is a universe of stuff going on, with his actual life.
Right.
Kids. Libraries, kid sports, and all that stuff. So I can't imagine having those two that, especially that I can't imagine, considering I know that people text him and stuff like that and DM him. I can't imagine what his phone is like and like how he deals with that stuff. I can't imagine. It's just incredible. I get 1/1,000,000th of the input that he gets.
Right.
From DMs and texts and this and that, and my cell phone number has suddenly just gone out. Everybody has it, and so, and it's not as if it's like, oh man, I'm burdened by all this attention, but it's just that, in a way, you kind of feel bad that you can't get back to everybody and leave people hanging because there's not enough units of time,
Right.
and that's me. I can't imagine him.
Yes.
Well, that is his full-time job. Okay, another guy who went sideways, and this one really got me because this is a talent guy and a performer, was Matt Carano. And Carano had all the telltale characteristics of a good and first of all, he's a great producer, excellent multi-track producer, hugely talented. Good singer. A guy is so freaking talented, it's incredible. He's a good political thinker. We've talked as a libertarian, etc.
Yep.
The guy has all his bleep together. And as a matter of fact, he showed signs in the beginning of being excellent. He went after Carabas. Like a pit bull going after Carabas was excellent.
What don't you like about him on the show
Like I
specifically?
said, I think my major
Specifically.
criticism, energy and enthusiasm.
So I have the same energy that Kirk does.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
No.
Whenever I come here, it's like there's a vibe. It's like we just talk. I don't feel the need to yell or raise my voice or whatever. Like we're talking.
Correct.
Let me ask you a question. What did you bring in today to talk about it on the show? That wasn't.
That's a real frigging knife fight that Carano is starting right there. Like saying he's mailing it in, he's a frigging hack, doing it to his face.
And doing it to like a real person who's somebody.
Yes. Who's
more somebody than Carano is. So it's, David and Goliath a little bit.
Yes, but he's getting into well, he's trying to get Carano into an intellectual tete-a-tete. Because intellectually, Carano would win. But Jerry Carabas, though he's trash, is not stupid trash. He's not. He's not. He, street smarts mean something.
Given to you.
When do I ever?
Exactly. That's my point. Why wouldn't you prepare for the show?
Because I'm a guest.
Well, it's
No,
not.
wait.
This is.
Wait. So you're saying
this is not. You're not.
only,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
But you say it's only Kirk's responsibility to run this show to have a good show.
I'm not a co-host of this show. I'm a guest.
Yes, but then you're just mailing it in. Then you're just.
I'm not mailing it in because I've never prepared for the show, and every single show that I've been on has gotten rave reviews.
Do you prepare for your own show?
From who?
Of course, I'm the host.
Well, then I find that disrespectful that you're not preparing for this guy's show. Are you just doing him a favor?
Rave reviews?
Hey, by the way, that's excellent three-way battle happening right there. Carano was right Johnny on the spot with every retort, and Carabas is...
And Kirk is like the let them fight meme.
Oh, absolutely. And quite enjoying it. And he was totally Johnny on the spot. So then Carano goes to work with Jerry. Then Turtle Boy gets in the scene. And then suddenly he's lost his force field.
Yeah, the Turtle Boy thing was weird.
Yeah, in this, and also, the way he took over Jerry's show and, remember the dog stuff and, in being proprietary and et cetera. And, he sapped the fun out of it.
He canceled little Jerry Callahan the chicken.
And sapped the fun out of it. And then we used to be impervious to personal shots. That was all gone. His feelings were getting hurt. People were getting body blows in, and he couldn't take it. And then he fucked with Turtle Boy, of course. And then you've got now two armies, both of whom are seeing you bleed.
Oh yeah, he was not ready for the Turtle Riders, I think. And then, I don't know why you would do the Rome podcast except for attention, and he didn't seem to love the attention on that either.
No,
which is weird because all that attention was good attention.
You know what this
podcast never would have had the listens that it had if it didn't have that attention.
Well, sure. Did it have a lot?
I don't know, but I assume 98% of the people listening to the Rome podcast were KMS listeners who were coming to look for audio cuts.
Right. So then once again, a guy who... supremely talented guy, just really talented, great broadcaster, great singer. So he's so good at everything, but is not a combat soldier. It just is not. There's a place for him on the team, and maybe a higher place, maybe more of an architect, whatever, but not a combat soldier. And just went away. And we, I think we can agree. We both like Carano. I just wish that I wish it didn't. There needs to be a special psychologist available to people who are just on the rapid ascent in the Kirk Minihane universe, to tell them, okay, manage expectations, breathe,
kind of a Miniverse life coach,
right? Don't get too high, don't get too low. Once again, this is all entertainment at the end of the day.
We're having fun here.
Exactly. These people. You're gonna go to the to one of the live shows one day and realize that all these people with Mike Geary Scrotum or whatever who are mean to you are really great guys and stuff. Don't worry about it. Okay, now our third guy is Cheeks. Cheeks is the kid who do you remember who he is? Probably not. Right?
This is the guy who called his mom, right?
Right. Yeah.
I'm team his mom.
Right.
We talked about this at the time. Yes.
I'm not team his mom.
I'm team his mom
because she made him like this. But this is Cheeks, guy, nice enough guy. Who had a big problem with his mom because his mom is manipulative. They've got a lot of issues. And
he cut off his mom, who, maybe I'm just team all moms because I'm a mom, but you can't cut off your mom.
What would you like? What would you like?
Deny.
I will have my own lawyer. I will pay for myself. What would you like written? You seem like you want some contract written between you two.
We're
said in writing.
Yeah, but we're gonna go through the. Don't insult me if I'm not around. Don't say things to my wife that you think are innocent but are condescending.
How old is she?
Who?
When?
Mom? Born in 59, so 63 or something.
It's not
Gonna
that
be
old,
63
then.
next
No,
month,
because you get
May.
to there is that age where it's like
It's not like 80 though.
72 to 78 where you're just like, they're fucking old, just leave it alone and they're gonna.
Well, I want to say another thing about this is that maybe this is something that happens that if Cheeks still has a father, does he?
I forget what the deal was with Dad, but Mom raised him.
It's
if
a
I
lot
recall.
easier to excommunicate Mom when you haven't lost a parent. That's one. Two is that mothers are fucking crazy. It just happened. My mother drove me fucking crazy all the time. I told Alice was there. My mother, we went to a McDonald's drive-through in Wakefield towards the end of her life. My mother ordered fucking toast from them. If I had a gun, I would have put it in my mouth and blown my fucking brains out right there. It was amazing. Amazing. Mothers just do stuff as they age as well. And like a lot of it, I think, is like this like weird cattle dog way of trying to get you to just have grandkids, and then like that's the bargain. Then they'll take the gun away from you, and then it's like, okay, just give me the grandkid.
Say what they say.
That's
but
my grandma. My grandma's the exact
no,
same person, but she's so
63.
old. I just laugh about it. And
There's some
kinda,
passive aggressive stuff going on. That's for sure.
There's
she
a
just
lot
sucks
of
with you. Like she doesn't suck with your other siblings.
Oh,
Like,
she's horrific. It's just they haven't drawn the line. Though I'm never gonna repeat what Leslie, my sister-in-law, told me. That's what when they were reaching out, they were actually commiserating.
Right.
But she said something
A lot of
horrific
issues.
about
Okay.
my brother's wife that I'm more disappointed in my brother that he still talks to my sister.
Yeah, so that's an issues-based fallout.
Mm-hmm.
And no doubt, when that happened, he's disclosed stuff about his family that he probably should be only be disclosing to a shrink. Kirk drew it out of him. He did it anyway. I assume then the onslaught of attention he got was like way just too much. Too much. So he went sideways, gone. Just gone.
Right.
And these people, I think a lot of these people, when they're done, considering all the attention they get in that chair, when you're in the chair, I know that guy, Cheeks is not a broadcaster. He doesn't do stuff like nerve-wracking recordings or spots or hits in other places. So he's not.
So do you think the people who disappear?
Hold on.
Okay.
He's not used to it. But even if you are, like I've done some stuff, and like being in there with Kirk was. Oh, you were in there with Kirk. Was like it's a high intensity blur. Like when I got out of there, I was like, I think something good happened. I'm not sure. Either it was disastrous or very. I can't.
Everyone else felt the same.
Right.
They also weren't sure what
Exactly,
to make of everything.
Kirk said that essentially he felt traumatized the next day. But so it's a high pressure spot regardless. You know.
So do you think that people who disappear, do you think they just like burn out completely? That it's just like too much exposure? Like, you know when babies or little kids, they say they get overstimulated and like they get too much attention, too much fun, too much sugar, whatever, and they're like nuts at the end of the day, but like really they're just tired, and it's like just too much, and so they just like go to bed, pass out, they're done. They're like looking away when you look at them, babies do. Because do you think the people that do that, it's just like the hot light hits them and it's like too much for them, and so they just burn out and disappear entirely? Like, do you think they still even listen? Or do you think, do you think it's that traumatizing to them, or do you think they still listen secretly and they're just anonymous? Like Cheeks could have just been at the live show like in disguise and you wouldn't even have known.
Right. It's possible. I think a lot of them are actually a little bit traumatized, but if they were at all like media business, for the most part, they'd realize everything's okay. It's fine. It's just BS. Like as soon as everything's fine, you know. But if they're not, then I could see how you'd be traumatized and you'd be wondering, wait a second, am I emotionally effed up because of this? Because it feels like a weird high and low that I've never had before. There are extreme emotions coming that I've never had before.
Well, and I think about it especially with this like younger generation now that feels like they get menu anxiety when they go to a restaurant, or they like, oh, I'm Gen Z, I can't make phone calls, it's like this is too confrontational for me, or like I need a mental health day from work because I'm too overwhelmed. I mean, like people like that are used to having their emotions coddled in that way, that are like have service dogs brought in during final exams because it's too traumatic to them. Like, I don't know how they handle that then.
Right.
If they get that kind of attention put on them.
I don't know. And also there's the dynamic of whether somebody goes on that show, gets 1,000 million trillion interactions on social media, and then starts to believe that those interactions in the assessment of the people on social media are who they really are.
Yeah.
And that could be great or it can be terrible.
I mean,
but
and a lot of times people are saying both to you.
Well, right, but they're not ever, they've never ever been assessed by 7,000 people before.
Right.
So, whether or not it's okay, he's a deadbeat, or he's a lush, or he's a pedophile, or he's, a psycho who hates his mom, or whatever, or like he's a brilliant guy, whatever. Like, being assessed on a grand level, especially if you're invested in the show like that, can be something that I could see if you're emotionally attached to the show.
Right.
Or I could see you be like, oh my God, like this whole army of people in this brotherhood in this show, and Kirk I loved, and now I'm defined like this, like a fucking fool.
Yeah.
And I think some people are immune, like Andrew Augustus, immune.
Even Steve from Gloucester, immune.
Coleman.
Although he did delete and undelete his social media a few times.
Yes, Coleman, although he deleted his social media, is mighty tough for a Gen Zer. I am very impressed with him. And then the last guy I want to get to is Yellow Shirt Guy. And this was not really a case of, this is not a mystery, so I kind of could have started here. But this was a guy who decided on social media to be an alpha tough guy.
Yep.
Who then got into the studio with no experience of doing this. So you walk into that studio, already Kirk doesn't like you if you're in the studio with him. Doesn't matter who you are. You go in that studio, and you're somebody who's harassing him, trolling him, giving him shit, and you have no broadcast experience, and you're scared shitless. Kirk sees this from a mile away. And it's like a deer limping. He's like, oh, okay, motherfucker, here we go.
All right. And what do you do for a living?
Sales, not by choice, but.
What do you mean? I'm confused. You were
I
forced to do it?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I know you don't like it.
What would you see? It's okay. What would you like to do, ideally?
I guess I like real estate stuff, like Dave.
It's just a slimy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sales. Have you been to any live shows?
No, I'm going to Plymouth.
You been to a live show yet?
I don't think I'll love it, to be honest.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
Why not?
You're in for a fucking treat.
I don't know. I don't like big cats, so like those videos are gonna annoy me.
What the fuck are you here for? Who are you? Do you like the show?
No, I do like the show.
Who are you?
But I liked it better with Steve.
Oh, you're Republican.
There we go.
Yeah,
sorta.
yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I don't consider myself libertarian.
Well, who are you?
By the way, this guy, this is not the personality he thought he'd have facing Kirk that we're hearing.
Right.
This is the meekest, most scared version of himself. And Kirk is asking who he is. Kirk's about to find out who he is. And this kid is unarmed in the fetal position and has been fucking with Kirk.
What's your presence on social media? Who are you? What are you?
The new KMS Reloaded guy.
Oh, you stink on Twitter. Yeah. You hate the show.
No, I just
You're
think
anti-hate the show, and you come in here and you're just a drip pussy.
Yeah, no, I don't dislike the show.
Yes, you do. I see you on Twitter. Yeah, it's okay, but just
no. I think it's still very good. I don't understand the people that like hate sneakers because I would because when
what are we doing, Dave? Why do we book this?
That show was painful.
I don't know.
No, I don't mind that. Go ahead. I'm gonna rip your fucking
that's
throat.
fine.
I'm gonna rip your fucking head off today. I'm in a bad mood, so go ahead.
That's
go
fine.
ahead.
No,
go ahead. I don't care if you think it's fine or not. Just so we're clear.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta feel that one in the pit of your stomach. Knowing that you're only 15 minutes in and you're gonna be here for a long time, and the fucking host has a vendetta against you, is going to eviscerate you, has promised he would, so the audience knows, and he knows the audience knows, he owes them one.
Speak.
I just think like when Steve was here, there were shows that were 5 days a week, 2.5 hours.
There's nothing. There's nothing to do with Steve that the shows are 3 days a week now. Nothing.
No, I know that, but I'm just saying the shows they naturally went that long. Where I just think sometimes there's not as much to talk about. And I think like and a lot of it was I thought Carabas was good.
You thought Carabas made shows longer?
No.
Well, you just said, but I'm confused then.
It was just I just felt like it was
okay. I thought he was like a good guy. Okay, whatever. So he stinks. All right. What else, Dave? No, he's a fucking prick. But like, I have no patience for like sneakers. At least whatever. Like this guy is just a zero. We'll just ignore him.
He just got to sit there.
I don't care. He's a piece of shit. Right?
I don't get. I'm saying I like the show now.
No, you don't like that. It's okay.
Yes, I do.
Listen, I got the point in my life where I don't like. I brought in sneakers. It was fine. We get along fine. Like I have no use for people who like, oh, I hate the show, and they just sit there.
I didn't bring
they
it
just
up.
sit there.
You asked me.
Well, I asked you, but then you just sit there like a lump. So I answered your question. I have no patience for it. You've added nothing so far. Fine, you don't like the show. Sit there and listen or leave. Either way, I don't care. What else?
Listen.
What'd you say?
I said okay. I'll listen.
Great. What else, Dave?
So, and obviously it got a little more violent than as it went on, but that's a clear, like, homicide. So you understand why that guy is like, this is not what I wanted to do. And he just fucking sat there. He probably was panicking the whole time. Like, thinking, like, should I, like, hang myself here? Like, that is very emasculating.
I think it's part of a bigger phenomenon that we've noticed is that some people are very aggressive on Twitter in ways that they cannot replicate on podcasts. And it's relatively common, like even in the broader sense of people that are like very funny and witty on Twitter who are extremely boring when you put a microphone in front of them.
Oh, totally true. But or at least not nearly as aggressive. And actually, it's rare that a Twitter personality is as aggressive in person. Kirk is one of the rare examples of where, like, in person, he's willing to go motherfucker at you.
Right. And I think, I think that people think they're going to be able to put forward that personality.
Yes.
In the studio. And he obviously, like, couldn't summon it. I think he thought he was going to go in there and be combative and say all this stuff and, like, impress Kirk with how, trolly and badass he is in person. But that's hard to muster sometimes.
Yeah.
When you don't have like the distance of the phone and all of the internet in between you and the other person, it can be scary. I mean, same with Riccio, really.
Oh, totally. Totally. We begged him to do a show at the end of that one. That was freaking absolutely pathetic. And that's like the murderous ones. He murdered Riccio, murdered Yellow Shirt Guy. It was great to see. With the Yellow Shirt Guy, I didn't really know the past, but with Riccio, he absolutely had it coming. But it's the people who go sideways, like Cheeks, like Carano, like for a few other people who just couldn't handle the heat of the whole thing and just had enough. Like I talked to John Peltier, who was a great guy, by the way. I saw him up in Portland, and like his feeling, and he's older than me, so his feeling was like, there's enough bullshit going on that it was an older guy's version of, okay, I get enough noise in my life. Whatever, I get kids in school, I get whatever, and I get sons, I get a family, real family, and he just didn't want that. That's one thing. But there are other people, and I think the dynamic is a lot like sons of or daughters of famous people who've done nothing to earn the fame, but who in their lives are totally maladjusted because they've got a veneer, they've got a prestige that's unearned totally. If you've earned it, then you've seen what it takes and the steps it takes from going low to high, and so
you've built up the resistance to the whole process.
Exactly. But if you haven't earned it, then it's suddenly upon you. You're suddenly floating around like in this special universe, higher above other people in the universe. And I think in your mind, you're like, there must be a tangible reason why this is happening. It must be because several good attributes of mine or things I've started like.
No, I think there's people on Twitter, and probably Yellow Shirt Guy is one of them, who think that they could be Kirk if they just got dropped into the right circumstances.
Yes.
And it's not true. And it becomes obvious why it's not true, because if you were going to be Kirk Minihane, you would be Kirk Minihane.
Well, right. And I think a lot of these people are dealing. The problem is, like, Kirk, even when he started with radio on weekend gigs or this and that, like, let's say there's no calls, empty phone lines, whatever, sucking wind, like every comedian has to eat shit for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You learn how to eat shit, and it helps you grow. And you learn as a strategic self-preservation tool. You learn how to avoid having to eat shit anymore, and you grow upon it. How not to get myself in a corner or whatever. These people go in and they eat shit for an hour or whatever, or online afterwards, and they haven't learned how to eat shit. They're suddenly eating 60 tons of shit and
they're not ready.
They're not in the eat shit shape.